apparently, dolphins derived from whales. Did not know that.
I'm going to keep this in because that's hilarious.
It was.
You didn't know that.
Did you?
Of course, Jared, they're like the same thing.
Whoa. Oh, pardon me. Pardon me.
Okay, look at a dolphin. Okay. It's got the same shaped tail, has a blowhole on the top. It's just like a smaller, more nimble, smarter version. Whales are huge, have a flat, same size, like same shaped tail.
I don't want to hear from you, sure. I
And
don't
a
want to
blowhole.
I don't want to hear from you.
They're called porpoises.
All right.
Yep.
What's their
Did
phylum?
you know an orca is the same as a whale?
I knew what that was. What's their phylum, Trey?
Your mom? I don't know. All right, welcome back to the Inner Headspace podcast. I hope you enjoyed that little snippet of genius.
I never claimed to know everything.
It's okay. It's okay. I know. There's things I don't
know nothing.
Cameron taught me today that axolotls and salamanders are pretty much the same thing. But I will argue that it is a pretty big difference that the salamander is amphibious,
Okay.
which means it starts its early life with gills in the water, and then it eventually goes out of the water and it can breathe air. Axolotls never develop lungs or anything. They just stay in the water. So they're called like walking fish or whatever. So yes, they're in the same family. They're both incredibly similar, but so is a chicken and a duck.
Here, I got another one for you, Mr. Einstein.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure this is correct.
Okay.
Did you know
No.
snakes are just legless lizards?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if you knew that. I didn't know if
I
you
wouldn't
knew
be able to tell, you know?
that. I didn't know if you know that.
Yes.
Okay.
They just don't have legs.
Yes.
Okay. Anyways, this is episode 7?
6.
7.
6.
I just posted episode 6.
Shit.
Let me look. I'm pretty sure this is episode 7. Dude, we're already on episode 7. That's insane to me. Oh, I just started the episode. Yep. Last episode that went up was episode 6.
What's insane for me
Mm-hmm.
is that this is my 9th week already in college for this semester.
Okay.
It's already been 9 fucking weeks.
Dude.
For me, like, because you're not in the classroom, but it's just like...
Right. What's crazy is that means you had only been in college for 2 weeks when we started. Because we've been doing this for 7 weeks. Actually, 8 because of episode 0. So you'd only been in college for a week at that time. Anyways, so this episode and the next episode are going to be shorter episodes than our usual hour to an hour and a half.
Trey doesn't like fun.
Jared's upset, but I got to make it work due to a technical limitation that we're running into for our storage. It's like boring to talk about. I'm just going to say they need to be smaller file sizes. I don't necessarily want to sacrifice quality, so I'm just going to make
We're never
them
sacrificing quality.
a little shorter. So yeah, hope you enjoy the more brisk episode that we're about to embark on. We don't really know what we're going to talk about yet. This is the first time we haven't come into it with an idea. And I have one that my dad wants me to talk about, but I want to save that for a longer episode. So that's like 2 episodes out. But
okay.
Yeah. What other animal facts do you know since we're on that topic?
I can't be asked these questions. I don't know anything. And
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've got something funny actually. 'Cause I went down this rabbit hole on YouTube.
Okay.
There's this thing. It's like a folk tale that's in Australia that basically they tell tourists to like freak them out.
Okay.
And I think they're called like, what are they called? Like dropping drop bears is what they're called. And they're literally like, they're said to be koalas that fall out of trees and kill people. Like they'll land on you and kill you because they're like just so heavy. Well, I mean, going that fast. And so like there's like signs and stuff that they'll put up that's like beware of drop bears. And then like they have these fake stories of people walking through the woods and then a koala will fall out of the tree and like land on them and kill them. I don't know. I thought that was pretty funny.
I'll talk about this.
Okay.
Dave sent me a video.
Okay.
It's about the CIA.
Oh, snap.
CIA came out and said, hey, use this encryption process or use this encryption for your computer, where the fuck it was. I didn't finish the whole
That way
video.
we can see all your files.
Well, so they said it was super safe, but like they just said to use it. That's what they said. They just said to use it.
Okay.
And the guy in the video kind of, I didn't finish it because I was just like, Dave's explained it to me. And basically what the CIA was doing was saying, so use this encryption, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the issue with the encryption was that they knew about was that it was something to do with the numbers for the encryption, like weren't truly random. And that's the thing about like a lot of quote unquote random generators.
So as far as encrypting goes,
okay.
what do you mean? Like, so when you encrypt your file,
Yeah.
is that when you're like sending something to someone, it encrypts it and then unpacks it on the other end, or?
I don't fucking know.
Oh,
I don't know how this works.
Okay. Okay.
For that technical stuff, I don't know the details of it.
Gotcha.
I just know the concept for encryption of like when it's peer to peer, something to do with a lock, and the other person has the key to it. Is
Exactly.
the only way.
That way people can't intercept it. Yeah.
Well, if this from the CIA was that the flaw with it was something to do with like how the encryption was, and so the whole thing about like if you go on Google or something and do like random number generator, random anything,
Yeah.
the whole like there's an algorithm to get that quote unquote random thing,
Which means it's not so random.
which means it's not random because it's an algorithm.
Right. So true random doesn't actually exist.
Davis knows so it has to do with like quantum physics and quantum computers to get true random.
What the?
Which
I don't even know what that means.
I need to have a conversation about it because it's very fascinating.
Yes.
But anyways, so the CIA knew about this, and what they were probably doing, since they knew about this flaw about the encryption, they just backdoored everyone, just looked at their fucking information anyways.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, look at this. And so basically,
what a surprise.
they were dishing out this one thing. Davis also said it was also never like verified or anything by anyone that it was actually safe.
Why would
They just dished it out and said use this encryption. It was called like Eclipse or something. I forgot what it was called.
Oh my gosh.
And the whole point was that there was this flaw with it, and then the CIA could just look at whatever you were doing. And so then
You're just giving them access to your stuff willingly.
yes, which goes into the whole information and the protection of your information, which then kind of relates back to what's going on in my house or my computer specifically, with the whole brute forcing that I told you before.
Just getting
Where
bombarded.
Some weird IP from China is brute forcing. I don't know what. I need to look into it more. But the government. It's not very conspiracy. Like,
Okay.
I wouldn't really trust them with your information because this.
I wouldn't trust really anybody.
Because this goes back to
Other than
I don't know the
close
full
people.
story with Edward Snowden. Edward Snowden, I think it's Edward.
Never heard of him.
He's the guy that exposed, I think it was the NSA for listening to all of our phone calls, which was deemed like a national security threat.
Yeah.
And he was incarcerated with a bad thing. I forgot what it's called.
He just got
like there's
retaliated on.
Well, there's like a legal term for what he got charged with.
Mm-hmm.
It was it's very serious what he got charged with, basically.
Huh.
And the reason why he exposed all this because he viewed it as something that was unconstitutional and illegal.
What was this?
So from what the whole backstory, from what I understand, I need to look into it because I don't know anything about it. I know something about it. Was after 9/11,
Patriot Act.
Was it called the Patriot? Yeah,
Yep.
Patriot
I
Act.
was actually just talking about this with my dad.
Which is there's a lot more acts that they'll be like the Patriot Act, Save Kids Act. Like they'll put buzzwords on it to make it seem
buzzwords,
good.
that's a good, yeah.
But then it's just like, oh, you're doing that.
Oh, you're just watching my every move. Okay.
And so
real patriotic.
And so with the Patriot Act, it was basically the whole point, from what I remember, was to boost national security, stop ISIS from crashing more planes, or whoever, stopping terrorists from crashing more planes.
The Taliban, Jared.
Taliban, my bad.
ISIS was recent.
All right.
I don't even know if we can say that.
Too late.
It's too late. We're just going to get flagged on YouTube. It's okay.
But the whole point, and maybe at first glance it seems like a good idea. It's like, oh, boosting national security. This seems good. But it's, at one point, do you not just abuse the living shit out of that? I'd be like, oh no, that's for national security. Like
you can just like fudge it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you're clearly doing something unfair, and then you just keep repeating the same thing, like, oh no, it's justified, and then the other person's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so Edward Snowden, he had God clearance. He was the guy where I think how he put it, an army general or someone of high authority within the government would come to him and be like, I need this information. And then he would get it to them. He was the guy.
Oh, so he's like way up.
Yeah, he was the guy to get people information.
Right.
And he said the guy before him was just this old dude who would like read books all day in his office. And when he went into the office, he just had unbelievable amounts of clearance to all this information.
Oh my.
And so for a long time, or for a period of time, he just knew what was going on, because that was his job, was to get information from this person to this person to this person.
Yeah.
And so like, it sounded like a pretty cool job, honestly, having all this knowledge.
But yeah, but having all this information and not really being able to let it leak.
Yeah. And so when he knew about the whole NSA Patriot Act and them listening to our phone calls, he
leaked that information.
He leaked that to journalists saying, hey, I have this information. This is what the government is doing. Oh. And then I forgot what he was charged with. I really wish I remember.
It's treason.
Treason. And so it was actually found that he was in the right, and that what they were doing was illegal.
Oh my god.
But I know I'm taking business law, but I still don't law is
You're
so
only
complicated.
9 weeks into it, Jared.
But it's also I'm taking a general like law class,
right?
Because you could get in specific into like marriage, tax,
I see.
Whatever the fuck it is. Like there's so much to zoom in on and specialize,
right?
But so anyways, I think you just call it the government. I don't know what to say. Like the government was found wrong to be in the wrong. I forget the punishment from when the government does something legally wrong. It's like nothing, because it's the fucking government. Like,
yeah.
What are you gonna do when they do something wrong?
Yeah.
It's just
how do you punish the government?
Exactly.
You don't. And that's the exact root problem. Where
I think what happens is that they take away the Patriot Act and then they just replace it with something that's not as bad, but it's like 1% better. For example,
exactly.
Like just something bullshit, and then maybe later down the line, it goes in front of a judge or whoever looks over, is like, oh, we need to change that. Okay, we'll make it 2%.
Yeah, just move the needle as slightly as possible.
And so, what was fucked up about it was that after the government was found, or I forgot which court deemed it was illegal, for some reason, all I know is that Edward Snowden is like still being charged, even though what he exposed was illegal. But yet he's still being charged for threatening national security.
That's so weird.
That is weird.
The person who's getting called out is now pressing charges against someone for also doing something illegal, but they don't face any consequences and the other guy does.
It's insane, isn't it? Like,
right.
The important thing about law, honestly, this might sound fucked up, is like laws aren't really meant to be ethical.
No,
they're
meant to control.
Yeah, they're meant to keep things orderly.
Yes,
that's the whole point.
Yes,
and there's going to be like, this kind of goes back to our whole Singapore talk that we had.
Yes,
it just depends on how you view what laws should be, how laws should be implemented, blah blah blah. And there's always going to be these flaws, is the thing.
Oh yeah, with any sort of governmental law system, there's always going to be moral shortcomings,
definitely,
if you could put it that way. And like, it's never going to be a right or wrong, or it's never going to be like a good or bad thing. It's always going to be, this is right, this is wrong. I don't care if that is morally correct or not. It's the whole debate of, I mean, maybe it's not the exact thing, but like, and I said this on our Singapore talk, death penalty, whether or not it's morally correct to do or not, obviously doesn't matter because it's a thing.
Yeah. One thing that I'm quite critical of the law. I forget what it's called. I think it's called a sentence minimum, something along the lines of that. Basically, I'm just going to call it a minimum because I don't remember the second word or first word that goes with it.
Okay.
Basically, a minimum is if you do this crime, no matter what circumstance, this is the minimum punishment.
No matter the context, you will always get at least this much time.
Yes, at least. And so in Idaho, I think, for example, if you get found with weed, I forget, like, you get a decent punishment.
I think it's more monetary than it is
I don't
like
remember.
detainment. I think you just get like a massive ticket.
Yeah, I think it's if you have 2 ounces because they consider that distribution. I don't remember. My teacher was talking about it.
Oh, what the?
But for weed, so in Idaho for weed, I know there's a minimum, and if you get caught with that, like that's the minimum you're going to get charged with,
no matter what was going on.
You know, like there's fucked up scenarios where my teacher brought. He's like, what if the context is, you know, you got this guy who went to Oregon to get his really old dad because he's in pain, like CBD or weed or something.
Right.
Came back with just for his dad. Yep. Gets caught with it. Wasn't going to use it or anything. It was all for his dad for medicinal purposes. Blah blah blah.
It was legal for his dad to use.
No, it's still. I think it's still illegal here.
I thought medicinal was allowed.
I don't think it's allowed in Idaho. I think it's illegal, medicinal and recreational use.
Sheesh.
I think Texas allows medicinal. Anyways, and even though he did everything for his dad, all of this for his dad's pain or whatnot. Yeah. If he gets caught for that, he just gets this minimum, regardless of whatever happened.
He gets the same punishment as some dude actually like distributing and selling.
Yes. Although for people like that, you start looking into because you get high in their punishment by like based on frequency. It's like, do you keep doing this? It's like, oh, you keep doing it, we'll like double it for whatever the minimum is. And then severity, like, do you have like 20 pounds of weed when you're like, and so when you get to charging people, more factors go into it. But you know, there's just minimums. There was examples in the classroom where for certain laws broken, I forget which one. There was like a 10-year minimum for something that was like, it's like, oh, I don't know if that should be a 10-year minimum for
Shouldn't
that
be a
crime.
10, but then there's other crimes that are very clearly worse, yet their minimum is somehow lower or less severe than.
Yeah, I'm sure stuff like that exists and probably does exist. But that's also because I know that we have a very high prison population.
Yep.
Is it prison or jail? I always
prison
population compared to a lot of first world countries.
Yeah, because we arrest for everything.
Yeah, well, this goes back to the minimums. A lot of people are just there in the minimum, and some minimums are just a long ass time where the context could quite literally be, I'm a good person, I haven't done anything wrong, I did this quote unquote one fuck up, but I was doing it for a good reason.
The intentions were different.
But it doesn't matter because there's a minimum set in place, so I'm going to get sentenced the minimum.
Yeah.
And then you just get stuck in that position.
So on the topic of our overpopulation in jails, it's just interesting that, or prisons, it's fascinating that we choose to, instead of not saying, because prison is very much like correctional, I believe. It can be, but I just don't get, like, these people then get detained and put into a prison, and then they're just kept there with, like, the income obviously is tax dollars. And I'm not going to go on. I don't really know much about tax dollars. I just know that our money contributes to the...
It's federal, and they get their stuff from tax.
Yes. And so I just don't get why we're so insistent on... We only have, like, 2 methods to punish people aside from death penalty, but which are, like, probation. And, like, I'm talking long term. Like, obviously you can be arrested and put in jail, but, like, prison, like, detainment and probation, I think, on a more general scale, are, like, the main 2 ways people are punished for their crimes. And essentially probation is just you're supervised in your life by the government. And so, and regulated. And so, like, how come, and I don't know any examples to any suggestions, but I'm sure there's got to be more than just those 2 ways, because just those 2 ways, I feel like it bottlenecks really fast.
Well, in terms of trying to change the law, it takes quite a bit of time for the law to change.
Well, that depends on if the government wants it to change.
Even in, for example, when going to court and all, like,
oh yeah,
the government's just so damn big.
Mm-hmm.
It takes quite a while for a lot of stuff to play out and change. For example, the whole big thing where quite a few people, it seemed like, wants weed to be legal across America, for example.
And that's going to take years.
Honestly, the only way that's going to happen is because you have your federal constitution and then you have state constitutions.
Right.
Federal constitution comes first and then state constitutions come second.
Yes.
So if you have a state constitution that conflicts with the federal,
it gets trumped.
It gets nullified.
Yeah.
You just can't. And so the only way that it becomes legal across everything is if the federal government makes it legal, because then that would force other states to be like, well, it's legal now.
Right.
But I don't know how long that would take. I just know it takes a long ass time for laws to change.
And the other thing is the states, I think, have a surprising amount of power.
They certainly do, and it's funny actually talking about power. I just had 2 weeks ago a little lecture on agencies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to bore you or anyone. My teacher believes that agencies are more powerful than the Supreme Court, but everyone says, like, the Supreme Court's the most powerful.
So agencies basically. Oh, like FDA.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay, that makes sense. Got it.
And there's agencies where the reason why agencies are so powerful is because the whole point of an agency is supposed to be very specialized in one thing. That's the whole point of an agency.
Yes.
They know their shit for that
They're
one
in charge
topic.
of this one aspect.
They are in charge of that, whatever field it could be or is.
Mm-hmm.
They're the specialists of that. And so whenever charges are being set and it's revolving around that agency, what happens is that it's not, I forget how it works. Basically, the reason why my teacher believes agencies are the most powerful form and not the Supreme Court is because if you've done something wrong against the agency, they're the ones that judge you. And if you try to appeal it, saying
it goes to them.
Well, so what happens is when whatever judgment you get and you try to appeal it, because you can appeal something if you weren't allowed to present evidence, like the judge said, hey, you're not allowed to show that, even though you followed whatever steps to
that doesn't
for your
count.
Evidence.
Aren't there situations where it's like you can't even use that as evidence because it's
so it's called time in law for it's called for discovery, and if you find discovery illegally, you're not allowed to use it. There's rules.
So it wasn't legally obtained evidence.
Yeah, but sometimes there'll be there'll be mistakes from judges' parts where they're like, no, you're not allowed to show that, even though there was nothing wrong within the process that, like, there's no reason why they couldn't show it. So basically what I'm trying to say, in order to appeal something, you could only appeal based off of like a question of law or fact. You can't appeal saying, I don't like that sentence, I want another retrial. That's not how appeal works. Appeal works
if there was a mistake.
Yeah, if there was a mistake in the process. That's the only time you could appeal, not what the outcome was.
Yes.
Well, you could on the outcome if the punishment was something severe. That was just like, that's never happened before, which would be an error somewhere in the process. But anyways, the whole thing about the agency is that whoever you appeal it to whatever court, they'll look at it and be like, okay, yeah, there was an error here, but we don't know anything about the topic. We're going to send you back to the agency that gave you that same judgment because they're the ones that are specialized in it.
What? That doesn't make any sense. Because like when you're filing you're going to court against some corporation, right? Like, then
it's not
well, I know agencies is government owned, but what I'm getting at is like, say I'm suing an internet place because they did something wrong. That's like them being like, well, we don't really know much about internet, but these guys do.
Yeah, that's not how that works. The agency comes in when the agency is the one, like, okay, when you sue someone, okay, first off, like, there's different types of courts you could go to. You want to go to a limited court. We kind of talked about this. A limited court is a court that deals with very specific topics, tax, marriage. Then general courts, they could deal with murder, they could deal with tax, marriage, all in the same day. And you don't want general courts because they're a jack of all trades, master of none. You want a guy that just really knows a judge that really knows his stuff, so you don't get screwed.
Right.
And that's basically what the agencies are. Whenever you violate something against an agency, you're going to have to take it up with them. And if you don't like what they gave you and you try to appeal it, and if the appeal goes through, they're the only ones, again, that you could go through because they're the ones that are specialized in it. The agencies, for whatever field you're violating, they're the best at what it is. And so it just goes back to them. They're the most
qualified.
They are the most qualified.
Which means their initial, whatever you were initially in trouble for, just gets passed anyways because they already...
You're just going to get charged or whatever. Like, it's just going to be the same thing again.
Yeah.
And that's why my teacher believes agencies are so powerful, is because it was like in Batman versus Superman in the cartoon, where I think it was Batman. I don't remember, but I haven't even seen the movie. I just seen the clip where Batman's much older and it's like some world order or something.
Okay.
And Batman's causing a ruckus because he's just pissed off what Superman's doing.
Yes.
And then Superman said to Batman, why do you keep trying? They'll just send someone else, even if you get rid of me. And the Batman's like, who's after you?
Oh, who's above you?
Yeah, like, who are they going to send after you?
Right.
That's the agency. It's just, they're at the very top for what they're doing. There's nothing after them. They're just the best in that field.
Right.
And so, if you get in trouble with them, you're stuck with them. Like, no one can help you. You're just stuck with that.
Oh, God.
And so... Again, like, if if you don't like how your outcome went or there was an error, like it's just going to be the same people that are going to look over it and they'll just be like, oh, well. And so basically you got to be really careful of the law is what I'm trying to get at. And I'm not anti-government, anti-cop by any means.
Right.
This is just to protect people because my teacher, who is what was that 42 minutes?
We have 40 seconds left.
God, I was going to get more into Edward Snowden, where before he left and exposed everything, he searched aliens with all this clearance he had.
What?
Yeah.
Aliens?
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about aliens again?
I wanted
Next
to.
time?
Well, when he looked through aliens, nothing came up, and he had God clearance.
So there's, quote unquote, absolutely zero anything on
Bullshit.
aliens. Yeah, I'm sure they've done nothing to look for aliens. I guess that's a topic for another day.
Okay. I know we're running out of time. Conspiracy theory, aliens.
Yep.
But something about like NASA was founded by Nazis and all this crazy stuff.
Oh, snap. Is that where you're going to...
I need to look more into it.
Okay.
But this is according to Alex Jones, so...
Oh, very reputable source.
I trust him. Now, I will say, a good equivalence for it is, you know, a religious man has his faith. I have Alex Jones for a direct comparison. Now, but I will be fair. I do question some stuff he says where I'm just like, I don't know about that one.
So you're telling me that Alex Jones is your religion?
No. The crazy stuff he says, I'm just like, man, I believe that.
Okay, I see.
Because we have all these different types of religions where you just have a person say, "Oh, I believe that. I can get behind that."
I think I see what you're getting at. It's not that you're entertaining his ideas of how he believes the world.
It's okay. This is where you like
or history to be.
How he phrases it. It's not how he believes it. It's how some high, crazy superpower people perceive it. It's not his personal belief. It's some people in the government, some rich people's beliefs.
It's his critique.
He's just relaying what powerful people believe.
Okay.
And then when I hear that, I'm just like, I can get behind that. He's talking about psychedelics and connecting to aliens through different dimensions.
Clockwork elves.
The clockwork was kind of mentioned before. He said a way they do it is like they deprive you of oxygen or something and stop your heart, so you could something about just getting deeper into it.
What in the world?
Something like,
dude, you're going off the deep end.
I know. Fuck.
All right. Well, Jared, I think I'm gonna have to cut you off.
I feel like I made this episode too boring.
No, we just talked about government stuff.
I ranted
That's okay.
about the law, which
Jared,
is
that's the
fucking
point. That's
boring.
what we do. That's what we do here.
Okay.
We get onto a topic and we just run with it.
All right.
Whether it's you or me leading, that's okay.
All right.
So, anyways, a much shorter episode, but it's for sake of specific reasons. But next week will also be somewhat shorter, and then we'll get back on our normal length. It's because I just want to make sure we have one coming out every Friday, and since we're having a storage issue, it's like I don't want to skip a week and then be behind a week and then have a perpetual problem. So, anyways, that was episode 7, and I can't believe we're already 8 weeks into this. That's kind of blowing my mind. It does not feel like we've been doing this as long.
2 months.
2 months.
2 months.
Oh my God. All right. Well, that's it. Thanks for listening. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Just search the name. We're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You're probably already listening on there. If you're not, check it out. Leave a review if you liked it. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.